Hello, hello, and welcome everyone back to the Modcast. I'm your host with co-host McFizz here,
Hey
back with
guys, how's it
episode
going?
9 of the Modcast. It's been a while. It's been a couple months. I think our last episode was back in February of this year, so it's been almost a whole year since we recorded our last one.
Wow, has it
Um,
been that long?
yeah, I think I was looking at it, and the last one we recorded was back in February, where we had the sword cast, episode 8. So
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because I think after that we were working on getting David on, getting Payne on, and things just kind of drag out, and then next thing you know, it's December.
yeah, so for y'all who are in the Discord server and are in the modcast section and follow that, you know that this episode was actually supposed to include not a current mod, or not a current mod, I mean admin, but a former one, Pain, also known as Six Paths of Pain, for you OGs that remembered. Things just kind of happened. We couldn't really get a schedule where all three of us could get on. Things kind of dragged out, and because and I kind of just spoke after privately, and we were like, I think it's better if we move this for a separate episode and kind of just talk about things, because there are things that we want to talk about before all of those things get outdated, which will be the topic of today's episode. But before we actually start on that, how you doing? How you doing, McFizz? It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been busy. Let's see. If the last episode was back in February, then I guess a lot's changed. For me personally, I mean, just going about my day by day. But back in July, I actually got laid off, so that was kind of interesting.
Mm.
No big deal. I'm doing fine. I actually started my own little business, and I'm doing consulting for a family business that I know of. So
Oh, nice.
we're getting things by, but it's been interesting. Other than that, we've been hanging out. Holidays are coming and going. Things have been super crazy. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
out of town last week, and I'm about to go out of town again next week. So looking forward to not having to travel so much, so I can kind of relax, get back on a schedule. But it was kind of nice a little while ago, actually. Toxic and his girlfriend came down to see us. So we had some fun in downtown Seattle and hung out with them for a couple days, and that was a nice
Mm.
kind of a nice fun thing that I got to do amidst all the craziness that's been going on. But overall, man, it's good. It's been good. How about you?
It's been relatively simple. I haven't had too much to really talk about. Um, and I don't mean to pry in this sense on your end, but you did have a trip to Japan recently.
Of
And
course,
we've
yeah.
talked
How did
about
I
that.
forget
Yeah, we've talked about
that?
that. We've talked about that in DMs. But if there's anything you want to share about that trip with the listeners out there, I think it'd be pretty cool, because I know there's a lot of people
Yeah.
out there that want to experience Japan overall, because it is a beautiful, beautiful country.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it's not easy to get there, but once you do, you never want to go home. So I actually went to Japan for about 3 months when I was in college to just study abroad. I got to kind of live there. I got really familiar with Tokyo. It's a lot of fun. And my fiance was supposed to go on that trip. She'd already been to Japan once before, but she was supposed to go on that same study abroad, but a year after me, and that was when COVID happened. So she never got to go. And ever since then, both of us have been dying to get back because I was planning a trip to go back the next year after I went,
Mm,
and of course COVID ruined that too. So we
yeah.
both have been just looking to go for so long. I mean, this was 2020, so 4 almost 5 years have passed since we've been trying to go, because once COVID died down, we were graduating college, we were moving across the country, we were looking for jobs, we were working, we didn't have enough time off. I would not recommend going to Japan for any time less than a week, and ideally you want to be there for more than a week, and that's a lot of time to take off. So
Yeah.
it was tough. We've been really saving up and planning and looking for a good opportunity. And, ironically, it kind of made it a little bit easier because I got laid off. I didn't have to worry about taking time off. Um, so it worked out in the end, and we had a lot of fun. We spent about half of our time in Tokyo and half of our time in the Kyoto area. We took a little trip out to a little coastal town, did some cool naturey stuff, but most of it was in the big areas. We didn't do too much that was new to us, honestly. We just wanted to kind of go see our favorite spots again, and things that I had done that my fiance had not done, and vice versa. So we kind of filled each other in, and now we're on the same page more or less. We've, in the big spots, kind of done all the same things together. And we have a lot of friends that live in Japan actually that are
Oh damn,
Japanese, or friends that we went to college with that moved there. Um, and so yeah, we were just going out, hanging out with them, getting drinks, eating food, shopping, just enjoying ourselves. So it was a blast.
that's
It's a
cool.
ton of fun. I got to practice my Japanese a lot, really got me amped up to grind some more. And I've been grinding most of this year to get back to where I was in college too. So it's been a productive year in that regard. And yeah, I knew you guys out there that are interested in Japan or Japanese or anything like that. I know some of the other Discord people are actually, I know, are learning Japanese. I know So just taking Japanese classes in college. He just took his Japanese 101 final.
Oh
I'm sure he
damn,
crushed it. So yeah, I mean,
shout out to
honestly,
Soj.
it's great. You guys should try to go if you want to go. Really try to make it happen. It's amazing. You'll have a blast. You got questions? Hit me up. I love talking about it.
Yeah, I mean that personally, I want to go to Japan. I mean, I've been in talks with my mom. She's very interested in going, just because of the country she was raised in is super nature based, and
Mm,
Japan has
a
beautiful
ton of
areas.
it's
So
everywhere.
she's super interested in going, and she knows I'm also interested in going. So we at some point, um within the next couple of years, want to try to plan something like that. So it's cool.
That'd be so cool.
We want to go, and I have some friends for sure that also want to go to Japan. I mean, it's a place that a lot of people really
It's a bit,
really
yeah,
want to
really
go.
popular right now.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
But you know what's cool for you? I know you live in California. There's actually an airline called Zip Air. I don't know if I've told this to you before, but they have like super cheap tickets that go to Japan. That's their whole thing. It's
Mm,
a subsidiary of Japan Airlines, so it's not just some random company.
okay.
All the planes come from Japan Airlines. I flew Japan Airlines there last time I went. It was awesome. The planes were great. Um, and it's just kind of like it's a budget airline. That's what it is, but it's
Uh,
Japanese run, so it's not as like gross. I think as like if you've ever flown Spirit or Frontier. I've personally never flown it, but I'm very interested because the base fare to get, and they only fly out of like three airports. There's one in Vancouver, Canada, and San Francisco and LA. So
oh damn.
doesn't work for a lot of people, but
Yeah,
if you're over there, you can get a base fare going across to like for like $300. I mean, you have to pay for your bags, you have to pay for your meal, so it's probably going to be more than that, but $3 versus like $1,400 maybe. It depends what you want. That's a lot of money to save. So you can even get a first class ticket for like $1,000.
it's
Um,
funny you say that because yesterday I was, 2 nights ago, I was talking with some of my friends that I want to go with, and they live in Denver, and we were like, let's see how much tickets are to Japan, and for them it's like $1,000 is like some of the cheapest you'll see. For me, in LAX, I see an average of $400 to $500, a clear average for like 2 pages. So that's
that's nice.
that's really nice for me, and I'm just like, well, that's cool, and it's, you say that because their layout. You were talking about the San Francisco, um um airline that they have over there. That's where their layover is from Denver. Is their biggest one is either Vancouver or San Francisco, and they have
Yeah.
they come to LA. They have the layover in LA. So I'm over here like I got lucky here, like good spawn for me. I
Yeah, good
get
spot. You're in a good spot for that. That's crazy. $600. Like, dude, I'd do that in a heartbeat. It's so much more expensive. I think when we first bought our tickets for this last trip, I was still working, and my fiance was kind of nervous. She's had a busy work year.
yeah,
And we just really weren't sure. We wanted to have a little extra insurance in case something changed, which they did, but it ended up making it easier for us to go. But we paid like a little bit more to have some insurance so we could move the dates and we wouldn't get screwed because
of course.
that's they're expensive tickets. I think the
Yeah,
cheapest tickets we could have got were $1,100 or something like that, maybe
that's crazy.
1,200, and we're flying right out of Seattle. That's another really great spot too. We didn't have any layovers, and so I'm surprised it's so cheap out of
Yeah,
LA.
a third of the price is kind of wild. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely capitalize on that. But anyways, for all
100%.
you other guys listening, if you can find your way to, LA, San Francisco, or if you're up in the Pacific Northwest, you can get up to Vancouver not too long. Um, sometimes it can save a lot of money. Like there's a train from Seattle. We could take that up to Vancouver.
Mm,
So you don't have to have a car, don't have to pay for a flight
yeah,
and fly out, makes it a lot cheaper. And that's the hardest part because once we got there, the exchange rate was so good. I mean, everything was cheap. Everything was cheap. So of course, hotels, stuff can add up, right? But day-to-day expenses, we didn't spend more than maybe $40 a day unless we were buying souvenirs, and that's for like the two of us. $40-50 at the most, and that's eating out 2-3 meals a
Mm.
day, taking the trains, anything we wanted besides like a nice souvenir.
Yeah.
Not a lot. So yeah, it's a lot of fun once you're there. And like I said, it's kind of hard to get over there, but once you're there, you
100%.
never want to go home.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting one. For sure. Um, let's see. Um, I think we want to talk about since we're talking about traveling and a lot of in real life stuff. We had there was a massive Rocket League event recently that everyone knows. RLCS was a couple months ago, back in September.
Yeah.
That was a massive event, which both of us here flew out for with a couple of friends, which that was great.
I
Um,
think that's what made it the most fun. But not only
hundred
that,
percent,
the games were fantastic
yeah,
too.
100%, 100%. Going every day. For the it was 3 days. What, three days, right? Right,
I think so. Three
right,
or four.
3 or 4.
Depends how you slice it. I think Worlds was 3 days, but we might have been there a little longer.
Yeah, we flew in. Um,
I don't even remember the dates
yeah, I don't
anymore.
even remember the dates anymore either.
See if I can find it
Um,
on my
but yeah, all days were fantastic. I mean, the games themselves were insane, and I mean, I know the whole tournament is NA was NA. This whole tournament was NA oriented since sorry, NA oriented since it wasn't Dallas. Wait, Fort Worth, right? It was in Fort Worth. Um,
Yeah.
so it was whole NA oriented. So any teams that were not NA were, you can feel the pressure and the
Oh
stadium
yeah.
vibrating when it wasn't. Um,
Everybody had their golden child favorites. We were everybody, the whole stadium was hoping G2 would
yeah.
go all the way, and it was
Hmm.
so much fun to watch them. But there were a lot of other upsets too. Um, I'm blanking on the names. It's funny,
The
but
Genji
what was
knockout
that
was
team?
the Genji knockout
Yeah,
was pretty big upset.
that was a big
Um,
upset. And what was the team that wasn't even supposed to be there with Joyo, right?
Joyo M80, was it M80? Is that team
No, I
M80, or
don't
is
think
that,
it
no,
was
no,
them.
no, 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 it's not the mates. That's not what team. Um,
Trying to find it on Liquipedia.
see.
All the listeners right now are like, "Oh, Big Al, these guys don't know anything."
these guys don't know these guys don't know their teams. Um,
Um, it was Oxygen.
Oxygen. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. It
I
was
was thinking
Oxygen.
green, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I was thinking
Oxygen's
green
one of
too.
those sports doesn't stick in the head, but Oxygen was so fun to watch. They played really well. They weren't even supposed to be there. It was awesome. Everybody loved Joyo. NA loves to root against EU,
Joyo,
especially the French people, but
Joyo.
everyone was watching Oxygen, cheering them on. So good to watch. All in all, every single game was so good. A lot of them were really close. There were some fantastic plays.
100%.
Just it wasn't, a lot of times people are waiting for the last day, because that's where the best teams play each other. But honestly, I think the first couple of days might have even been more fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So many good plays, so many great
Mm-hmm.
games, and I think just being there with like the big group was a ton of fun. I mean, you had your guys flying. I had a bunch of people. My friends flew in. Some people lived there. We had like what 10 people with us.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
it was a lot of fun. Um, and talking about that, kind of keeping the topic of the in person feel and everything. Um, the whole stadium and everything. That was my first. I know you personally, and some other people have been were there for the Fort Worth one a couple years back, but that was my personal first actual LAN event of any esport. Uh,
Wow.
it was my first experience of one, and that it was honestly amazing.
Yeah, I'd
It
only
was
been to
great.
Worlds before. That was my only esport event before that one. One of the other guys that was with us, Kevin, he's done a lot of Call of Duty and things like that too, so
Yeah,
he's got a
yeah,
lot of experience. He, having someone who's having been to other esports events too, like he's telling me, dude, Rocket League is so much fun. It's electric. The crowd is great. Everyone was doing the wave, like
yeah.
it was so much fun. But there's
Banana Man in the
and
stadiums,
banana
bro.
outfit,
Yep.
keeping the hype
Mm-hmm.
real.
That guy was the goat. That guy was the goat.
For real. So
Uh,
it was a blast. Although, I do have to say, when I was there 2 years ago, every team had like a booth. The way Dickies Arena works is it's 2 levels, and outside the arena there's like a big donut essentially with like food court, not food courts, but concessions and drinks and other things. And all along that big like track, there every org would have a booth set up. There was like a Vitality booth, and there was a G2 booth and a Furia booth, and you could go, and that's of course if any of the players were doing meet and greets, they would go there. You could buy merch, so you could get the jerseys for your favorite teams. They would have like uh little competitions. You'd go and do like a 1v1 tournament. There would also be meet and greets off site after the day would be over. You'd go to another location like right across the street, and a team would be putting something up. Like G2 would rent out this taco shop in the morning and after the game, and they do meet and greets. They give out merch and everything like that, and it was a ton of fun because you'd go and then you'd watch the games, or if there was a game you didn't want to watch, you could go do something else. There was a lot to do, but this year that was kind of my biggest disappointment. And every day we were looking, hoping there would be a booth, but and a few teams did have booths, but they really didn't have much. There wasn't a lot in the way of merch or anything really going on. It was kind of, if you're not watching the game, there's really not much going on, and that was kind of a bummer. I wish I could have seen a little more, but I know in general esports is kind of feeling it hard right now. So maybe that was just a evidence of that. But that was something I wish you could have experienced.
Yeah, I remember the day before, because again we had all landed and kind of met up at the airport. And we all kind of just rode back all together with Kevin and Michael and all the other guys.
Yeah,
Um, and we were that night before. We were like, oh yeah, we should wake up an hour early and be at the arena, or no, earlier than an hour early. We wanted to be there at the
yeah.
arena an hour
We wanted to
earlier,
be,
um,
yeah,
so we can kind of be at the
early in
not at
line.
the early in line, so we can capitalize on the merch on the first or second day, so that by the time we actually want to get merch, it's not all sold out. And
It's, yeah, because it sold out fast. If you
yeah, we
wanted
were there.
anything
We
good,
were
you had
there.
to get quick one.
We were really early, and we were kind of at the front of the line at one of the entrances there.
There was
Um,
still a lot of people.
there was still a lot of
Everyone was
people.
waiting to get in, and so we were like, "Oh man, yeah, we got to get in first day, get the merch, get what we want, buy our jerseys, spend our money, so that we're decked out for our teams when they play. Got all of our stuff." But yeah, there was nothing inside.
Yeah,
We got in,
I
and
think a good amount of people that were in line were also kind of expecting the same thing. I mean, it was kind of I think it was kind of
yeah, bummer.
bizarre for people to not. I mean, you had SSG who had their booth. Um, they had their like one booth at one of the entrances. I think there was one or two other teams that also had kind of like their booth. And I do know that they had meet and greets throughout, but it was super last second stuff.
I
Um,
think the meet and greet was also, they kept using the same booth, and they had scheduled meet and greets, and
yeah.
so everyone was in line, and it was like, oh, this is the meet and greet. People would be standing outside in line waiting because they wanted to be the first one, and they would be
Mhm.
missing matches. I liked it, and then I liked it before when it was spread out. You would go to this booth to meet this player. Um, but that time it was like a general RLCS kind of booth where there was a table and you would go to it. But at least they did have something for it, which was nice. But I think a lot of us towards the end actually just bumped into players like walking down the hall after they were done or they were eliminated. Like I bumped into Com, just walking down. I was coming back from the restroom, something. And I was like, oh shit, it's Com. So I got to stop and get a photo with him and all that. So, did you meet any? You met a couple pros, right?
Oh yeah. So this was my thing. So again, we all kind of flew out with different groups. McFizz had his group of friends. And I had like my best one of my best friends and one of our really close friend as well. He kind of flew out, that stayed with us. Um, but me and my best friend, I'll name and drop him since he's my boy. Jacob, he and I were kind of we were kind of doing our own thing, kind of like the whole time. Mainly because that weekend was his birthday, so we were kind of like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
we're gonna do our own thing. But on the last day, we decided, we were like, you know what, dude, because everyone else in the group were kind of like, they wanted to kind of like leave, um, and do their own thing and go back to the. You guys wanted to go get food, right? I think, or whatever it
Yeah, we
was.
went down to get barbecue a little ways away, but the line was long. It was kind of crazy. You
Yeah, it
guys
was
were
kind of
like, "Nah, we're
crazy.
gonna just do our own thing."
Yeah, so Jacob and I stayed after, and we were like, let's walk around the stadium before we leave. Um, we walked around. Um, we saw the first person we met immediately was kind of Abjag. We saw Abjag. We talked to him for a little bit. We got pictures with him. That was really cool. Um, After that, we did a couple loops trying to see who we can find. We didn't really see anyone else until we left the main entrance. There we saw a massive ass line, and the person we see taking pictures with everyone was Reddles, and that was cool.
Oh,
That was cool. It was a really long line, and you can tell the staff and everyone was kind of like they were kind of like on edge because it was just a massive line kind of outside the door. They didn't want anyone um kind of sneaking back into the arena or doing anything that they weren't supposed to. So you can tell the staff was kind of on edge. Um, but it was a massive line, and we were in line for like maybe 20 minutes until it was our turn to go take a picture. So we talked with Rodos for a little bit. He's an awesome guy, down to earth guy. He asked us questions as much as we were asking him questions. So it was really cool that he wanted to kind of kind of get to know us for that minute or two that we had with him. Um, we took a picture with him. That was really awesome. I know because
I'm
my
jealous.
my friend Jacob is a massive fan of him. He was
Me
he wa-
too.
he was the one person he really wanted to meet, and every day of that weekend he was kind of like, dude, it'd be cool if we met Red Rolls. Um, and we actually talked about Red Rolls with Abjack for a little bit. Um, and then going outside and seeing Reddles, and he was freaking out. He was like, he was like, dude, let's
That's so
get in
funny.
line. He was like, dude, let's get in line. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm down, let's go. So we got in line, and then took a picture with him. And then after that we were kind of like, okay, I imagine that's everyone we're gonna meet. um which was so cool meeting both Abjack and Reddles. So we kind of wrapped around to the Ubers, to like the Uber side of the stadium or of the arena. And funny enough, um um who was there? Who was there? It was Hercules. She was
Oh
there.
yeah,
She
you
was
told me
there.
about this.
She was talking to some people, but of course by that point, almost everyone was gone. So that Uber area was kind of empty. It was like maybe like 20 people there. Um, and we were like, dude, wait, that's fucking Hercules. And then we went up to her and we were like, yo, can we get a picture? And we took a picture with her. That was really cool. But she was in a rush because her Uber was there. Um,
Yeah,
but it was cool seeing
that's
her.
so cool.
And while we were waiting for hours, 5 minutes later, out of the corner of my eye, I see some people sprinting. I see two or three people sprinting, and I'm like, dude, who's that? I look over and I see Squishy just running, just bolting it towards his Uber, talking with Justin, and I'm like, dude, holy crap. Um,
She and Justin running from the crowd.
yeah, they weren't running from the crowd, but I think Squishy was just about to miss his Uber, which is why he was running.
Ah,
And he took a picture with one fan on the way there, and I almost made it in time to sneak in a picture with him, but he snuck into his Uber too fast. Um, but I was able to ask Justin, just for a quick picture. Same with my friend. We both got a picture with Justin. That was really cool. As well. So that was pretty much it in terms of those interactions. I also met. I completely this completely went over my head, but in one of those games, I was walking around with Jacob. We were gonna get food, and I saw Try House in one of the entrances.
oh
Um,
yeah, I think I remember that too. I
that
think I
was
saw
really
him.
cool. That was really cool. I got a picture of Try House, and he's not as massive as everyone else in the scene, um, but he was really cool to talk to. He was asking me again, like Reddles. He was asking me questions as much as I was asking him questions, and being someone that is more familiar with Wayton, as Wayton and Tryhouse kind of back in the day they were kind of doing stuff together. Um, I kind of talked to him about Wayton a little bit, and he was asking me some questions about Wayton, and that was really cool. That was really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's so
think
cool that you got to like meet. First of all, you met so many awesome people too. I really like it that you got some people to kind of ask you questions back and actually talk with you a little bit. I feel like it's so overwhelming. As one of those people, just everybody who sees you, they all want to talk, they all want to take a photo, and like you don't want to be rude, you appreciate it, but it's got to be tiring.
100%.
Especially if you're one of the really popular ones. I know a lot of players like Reddles. Like I like Reddles a lot. I would have loved to meet him. I just didn't get the chance to see him. But when I was at Worlds 2 years ago, we actually also went to group stage. It was a lot smaller, a lot more chill. Um, really cool because you were just kind of sitting in chairs they lined up in this big open room, and there was a stage up front, and that's where the players would play. So you were, you know, if even if you were in the back of the little area of the room, you were probably only 50 feet away from the players, so
Hmm.
you were really close. And every now and again you'd see people pop up, and not many people showed up for group stage, right? Like even the content creators, but Lethamir was there, and I actually got to meet him, which was really cool. And I kind of was like, hey, I won't bother you. You're busy. Blah blah blah, whatever. I do a quick photo. He's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, I made some comment of like, like thanks, whatever. I appreciate the time, whatever. I'll get out of your hair or something like that. And he was just like, oh man, don't worry, this is not going to be the end of it. Like he was already, I could tell I made that comment, and then he just replied, and I was like, dude, you're right. Like he's probably going to have so many people, coming up to him, talking to him. But it's really cool, like despite all of that, that they'll make the effort to actually chat with you a little bit. And surely after 3 days of that, you'd just be so tired. But I also
100%.
feel like when you finally get to come to Worlds, even if you're not on the grand final stage, seeing all the people that you play with all the time online, and you stream on Twitch with, and you collaborate with, seeing them in perfect person has to be such a blast. And then
Yeah.
kind of getting to meet the fans, I
Hmm.
think that's because you really don't get bothered too much as a content creator or a pro, like outside of Rocket League events. So maybe, I think it's got to be a lot of fun for them too.
Yeah, I imagine just meeting the people that support them. Um, just kind of again, it is overwhelming because when you go to a Rocket League event, the big names, even some of the smaller creators as well. So I imagine it's like a whole just, I guess, like sea of just people asking for
Oh
a
yeah,
picture or just wanting to talk or something. So I imagine it's very tiring after some time. I know
yeah.
I know one of the things, because again, we didn't me and my friend didn't really talk to Hercules that much. After we got a picture with her, we were just kind of in the area because again, it was like the side of the street where everyone was waiting for their Uber. So she was kind of talking about how she was super tired. Um, which I mean makes sense. She was a caster, so that's even
Oh
worse for
yeah.
her.
She just worked all day.
She
Yeah.
worked all day, and on top of that, having to meet people, and she was like really tired. Um, but she was super chill as well. Even if we didn't talk to her that much. Um, um, and it's just it was crazy to hear all the stuff she was doing. I mean, she's like I said, she was a caster for that event. Um, and you can just tell she had lost her voice. She was super dead, and I mean, with reason. I mean that finals day was insane.
It
Um,
was insane.
overall, it was amazing. And I guess talking about the finals day, um, G2, uh, again, they didn't play day one since day one was more of like the I guess like the early
They were
bracket, the
too good
early,
for day one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then day two they kind of played on the last. They played the last game, um, or the second to last game. They only played like one game. I think it was against was it against Furia? I don't remember who they played. But again, they played
No,
against a
they
team.
played Limitless and Power, and then they played M80.
Mm-hmm. And then
General Mates.
yeah, and
Let me
then
see if
that
I have
was
the bracket on my phone.
yeah. But every time they came on, the crowd was insane, screaming
They were
Daniel,
definitely the
Beast
favorites.
Mode,
It was so
Atomic.
loud.
It
It
was
was so much
crazy.
fun. Everyone was in it because you had nobody there rooting for the EU teams, and that was or the other regions, and that was all who played. So every time G2 went out, they had the whole arena at their back. It was
Hundred
so
percent.
much fun. Um, yeah, it was a blast. And then of course the finals came, and the hype was super real.
Dude, I've never again, that was my first like actual LAN event for any esport. And in general, any sort of event with the crowd. I've never been to a concert or anything like that before. So the vibrations and the atmosphere, and you can just feel it, the atmosphere overall of all the NA fans just there cheering on G2. That finals game when they came on stage without even playing yet, the crowd was just electric, and you can just feel it. It was insanity. Just just being there and everyone screaming G2, everyone bowing down when Daniel came on, when Beast Mode came on, when Atomic came on, everyone just bowing, being like, it was insane. It, I've never experienced something like that before, and it was amazing to say the least.
It
Um,
was so loud. It was a blast.
yeah, and of course, the game didn't go as as we all wanted. But um, I remembered whenever they scored a goal, the crowd just exploded. It was just a explosion of just hype and just
Especially a really important goal. I mean,
yeah. I mean that well, it
yeah.
was that I think what it was that I think it was Beast Mode who scored a clutch goal in one of those games in overtime or to take it to overtime. Um,
Yeah.
I thought I had
And
muted
everyone just
Steam.
was jumping out of their seats and grabbing each other and screaming. Like my voice, I think I lost my voice on the first day. And I had to restrain myself on the second day because I knew I was going to be yelling even more
Mhm.
on day 3, and I had to
Yeah,
try and like tone it down until the big games came on because we were having so much fun, and it was worth it because I needed every ounce of voice I had that day.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, and then of course, BDS winning that finals was not was not in favor of everyone in the stadium. Um, so I mean, makes sense. You go to an NA, you go into an NA a tournament that's hosted in NA. You're not gonna have many people supporting any EU teams
Yeah,
at all.
especially when it's the same matchup as it was 2 years ago in the
In
same
the same
arena with
arena.
you know, and the game goes that way, you just wanted something different. That's really
Mhm,
what it was. Is you wanted
100%.
something different, and the crowd didn't get it. And whether or not it's good or bad, it was I would say quite a spectacle to see how quickly everybody got up and left
Yeah, that was
when the
interesting.
game
And
was finally over.
I
Uh,
remember I stayed with I know you guys kind of stayed for a little bit before everyone
I
even
was
left.
mad. I left. I was so
Um,
sad.
I know, but you got I your group didn't really leave immediately either. You guys were kind of just like there, kind of disappointed, and we're like, what just happened? I can't believe
Yeah,
we lost that way.
can't believe it.
Um, there were people who the second that last game ended, they just got up and left. Um, I remember I stayed behind with my boy Jacob and Yoza was there too. We kind of just stayed behind and we were there for a little bit, just chatting about everything. Um,
You guys there for the trophy ceremony, or
yeah,
had you
we
left
we
by then?
stayed. We stayed. No, we
You
stayed
stayed the whole
until
way.
we stayed even when they were signing on the NASCAR car. We were still there. So we stayed for quite a while. Until we were like, okay, you know what, dude, let's leave. Let's see if we can meet anyone. Before we go. Since we were already kind of leaving kind of late.
I think
Um,
like 90% of the stadium was empty by the
100%. It
time
was
they were lifting the trophy. Everyone got
yeah,
up and left so fast. They were like, "We're done. Nothing left to see here." Which
yeah,
again, if you're a salty fan, you're like, "Ha ha." But and I don't mean disrespect to BDS. They're a fantastic team, evidently. But yeah, like I said, just quite a spectacle. Whichever way however you feel about it, it was like crazy to see how fast people left.
yeah. I remember being on the Uber on the way back to the Verbo that we had rented out. Looking at Twitter and seeing all these casters and YouTubers being like, what is the NA crowd doing? Like why it's disappointing to see everyone just leave, and not even just staying at least for the trophy lift. Um,
Yeah.
and I can see both sides. People wanting to see NA win and just disappointed that we didn't this
And
time. But at the same time, I also see that side kind of being like it being kind of like poor sportsmanship on the crowd, just being like just leaving and not even showing this respect that they fought their way through
it's
a little
definitely
bit.
not good manners,
Yeah,
but I think like I said, and I don't know if they really touched on it as much as they did in the stadium on the broadcast, but we were there, they mentioned it so many times once it was clear that G2 had a real chance of going to the finals, and BDS, like they were like, "Oh, the rematch from 2 years ago back in
yeah,
NA."
they were
They
hyping
were
that out. So
harping on it,
yeah,
hyping it, hyping it, hyping it, which was great because, the crowd was loving it. They were eating up. We were so excited, but they definitely kind of were getting the crowds excited and for the prospect of G2 winning. And even looking at G2 as an org, aside from this whole event, how many times have they made it to the world stage? How many times have they made it to the grand finals and not walked away with a trophy? And to see this
yeah,
G2 make it and play like they played that day and the whole weekend before,
yeah,
and you were like, "Oh, this could really be it. This could really be it." And then to go that
dude.
way, you're like, "I'm just so brokenhearted. I can't keep watching. I can't stay. I just have to go." As a G2 fan, not to say it was excusable. It's definitely bad crowd manners, but I think there was so much brokenheartedness that day. So many people were so disappointed because
I
I wanted
Yeah,
my boys win.
100%. No, I was disappointed. I mean, I don't get me wrong. Like, of course, I stayed because
Oh yeah.
I wanted to show my respect because even though I really, I have respect for BDS, but I also, also like screw those guys for winning. Um, but I wanted to show my respects. At the end of the day, which I mean, I've been a G2 fan, and I tweeted this out when they sadly decided to leave the RL scene. Um, I've been a G2 fan since the very beginning. When they weren't even G2, when it was iBuyPower, when it was Kronovi, Lachinio, and Overzero back in season one, and G2 decided to pick up that roster. And I've been a fan since that day, um, of G2. And I remember they made a really big historic run in one of the tournaments a couple years ago, and that was really hype. And then they lost in the finals, and that was really really bad. But
It's
there
so
was a
bitter to
couple
think.
years. There was a couple seasons there where they didn't even qualify for LCS, and it was really bad. And being a G2 fan was depressing in those times. But seeing them get to this finals, and I was just like, dude, they finally made it after all these years of watching this team. They finally made it to the finals of RLCS. This can finally be the the time they win it, and this is ultimately the
Want
best
that.
team they've had in the history of
Yeah.
G2, with Daniel and Beast Mode being insane. Atomic, still being an insane player, but evidently not on the level of Daniel and Beast Mode. Um, but still props to Atomic because he's still an insanely good player. Um, but
Man, he's got to be. He's got to still feel so bad about how
definitely, definitely,
good.
like I said, after that first game as well, where Atomic was the MVP of that first match, that first game going
Yeah.
into the series, where he completely obliterated the BDS team, just going on, um just being everywhere on the field, scoring goals, giving assists, saving where he needed to, and just to then just go into that final game where,
The
um
pressure has to be unbearable.
100%, 100%, that sucked to see 100%. And I felt, you know being a G2 fan, that for so long, it broke my heart, and I know it did for many of the spectators and in the in the arena, and even worse for Atomic himself and the actual G2 team. Was I imagine they all felt horrible after that. And all you can do is just say unlucky and maybe try again next time, because it is what it is. Which, I mean, I guess moving on from that, um, kind of going into my next topic that I wanted to talk about, um, the esports scene in terms of Rocket League. Right
In
after the
general,
tournament, you
with
had
Rocket League,
BDS drop their roster and G2 drop their roster. Like, number one and number
not only
two,
drop the rosters but pull out
yeah, they
of.
pulled out of Rocket League in general, like, because of it's not financially stable for them. It wasn't financially stable, and that sucks to see. I mean, the number one and number two of the last tournament backing out of Rocket League completely because they can't afford to run it anymore. Um, that really sucks to see, because that's a massive blow for the RO scene. To
Especially you take a team like G2, right?
Mhm.
And Rocket League is turning 10 years old next year.
Yeah, which is
They've
crazy
been
to
in
think
it from the
about.
beginning. And now, they've always had good rosters. G2's, I mean, I'm not a historical expert on RLCS by any means, but I can't think of a year where G2 really had like they weren't even around, right? They've always been a contender. Um, and after nearly 10 years in the scene, they just decided to call it, is kind of disappointing. It's not kind of disappointing, it's really disappointing. And it
100%.
really makes you think about what's coming,
Mhm.
with all these changes and what the future looks like. I know in general esports as an industry is struggling. A lot of different games are having similar problems, and Rocket League is just, I think, one of those games, and we've talked about this plenty of times on other episodes, that I think is not only so special to so many people, the players, it's so unique, but because it's so unique, there's really no replacement for it. You can't fill that hole if Rocket League kind of disappears or falls off from the scene.
Mhm.
And I think it'll always be one of those games that the community continues to kind of keep alive in one way or another. But um, I really hope we can get back. If I don't know what next year will look like, but I hope that we can get back to that point where, like, that peak, I think 2 years ago at Dickies Arena was the peak of the esports scene. Maybe. I mean, I wasn't there for earlier esports events, of course,
Yeah.
but that was a big operation and it was a lot of fun and everybody had a blast and we had a blast this year too. But I hope we can continue to see that as the future goes on. We'll just have to see what that looks like.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I mean, it's you know, like I said, it hurts being a G2 fan, seeing them pull away from Rocket League. I mean, we can only hope that they return, kind of like how Cloud9 a while ago teased that they might were thinking of returning to the RL scene, but we'll see what the future holds. Which talking about that, just these last couple of days we had the FIFA E World Cup for Rocket League, and I know you and I we talked right before this that we don't really know too much about what kind of happened. But from what I heard from Twitter and other people, just saying that this tournament was probably one of the best run tournaments that Rocket League has produced. Which I mean, Rocket League didn't even host it; it was FIFA that hosted it. But that has just like in general, the Rocket League tournament has been hosted. One of the best Rocket League tournaments has been hosted in general in the last couple of years. Um, is kind of exciting to see in a way. And
Yeah, I
we
liked the way they mixed it up. It wasn't really teams, it was more about regions and players. I thought that was kind of fun and
mhm,
seems like a lot of the players that participated enjoyed the format. The format worked really well. So, hopefully that continues and we get to see more things like that that kind of get people excited, because that's really what the esport needs right now.
100%, 100%. Um, and and I was gonna say, this is hopefully the following tournaments in the next couple of years can kind of follow this format. I mean, I know it's difficult to kind of reproduce the same thing over and over again, but clearly everyone was really hyped for this tournament. I mean, I know the clear favorites in the Twitter following were the Team US, which was kind of sad to see them play so low. But you have a tournament that was super this tournament that's super popular and just completely everyone was talking about it. The Rocket League, everyone in the Rocket League scene was kind of like, "Hey, this tournament is amazing. The way they're running it is really good." We can only hope that in the next tournaments it can kind of I guess not kind of reproduce it, but kind of take parts of this tournament and introduce it into the following tournaments. Just because it was very apparent that this tournament kind of brought back a lot of hype for the esports scene for Rocket League, and that's a good sign. That's a good sign. That's a good step forward, even if it wasn't an actual Rocket League hosted tournament and it was hosted by FIFA. It's still a step in the right direction.
You know, I again, I'm kind of a newer player to the scene. I've always been a little bit envious of you guys who've been playing for so much longer. I mean, you've got a yellow OG GC tag back when GC was the highest rank. You've been playing for a lot longer. I've had the game and played on and off for a long time, but I never really got involved in the community until around free to play, and that was when I think a lot of people agree the game started to change a lot and things got more difficult
Yeah,
as far as being a fan and the esport and all of that. But um, I have a little bit of a lack of perspective, but I did see this video Lethemir posted not too long ago. If people are interested, I would encourage them to watch it. And I'm looking it up so I can tell you what it is. I can't find it. I'll find it. It's a bit of a ramble. Lethemir's just basically talking about kind of like the future, what he is hoping for, and talking about a lot of different things. And I think he's got good insight too, because not only was he a pro, he's also a content creator, and he does help out a lot with more of the tournaments and events that go on. I think there was like a Twitch Rivals a while back he participated in, and he's very active in that community. And he made a good point that I really kind of resonated with me, and he said that Rocket League has always succeeded because of the community's support.
100%.
Um, of course, Rocket League themselves, Psyonix, helped put on RLCS for a long time, but I don't think that it would have been as successful as it was without, the fans, the content creators, the players, everybody that plays this game makes up a huge foundation of what it really is. Um, and so it's easy to kind of lose hope, I think, and feel like bummed out, like you don't have any control and there's nothing really new you can do with the game. But I still think that there are people at Epic that have the players and the OG fans' best interests at heart, and they're doing what they can. But the gears grind slow at big companies. Um, and who knows? I think in general right now, tech companies, game companies, it's a tough time for everyone, and who knows what their priorities are. But uh, I think even last season I hardly played any ranked at all. I didn't even get rewards, but I came back and did some placements. I played some games with Soj. I was having fun, and I just remembered I was like, this is why I like to play this game. This is what's so much fun about it, is all the people and all the things that we did. And if you've been in the Wayton server for a little while, you might remember the draft tournaments that you and I would run, and Rev and I
Yeah,
would run, and the league that I tried to set up a couple years ago, and it was a blast. And I think those are the things that make the game great.
100%. I agree.
No matter what happens, no matter how much support we get from other companies, from
Yeah,
Epic, how much development we see. I know everyone's kind of been really holding out for Unreal Engine 5, and they've been saying, oh, well, if we don't get UE5, it's over. The game's stuck. We're never going to progress. And certainly the game would benefit from that. But I really don't think that it's as hard of a requirement maybe as I used to. And I think we just need people to continue to innovate like this, like better tournament formats, and new fresh things, and support of course from kind of like the industry is great, but at the end of the day I think the players and the community is really going to be what keeps it alive.
100%.
So I've still got my hopes up. Maybe it's a little bit of copium, maybe some people are more cynical than me, but I still feel like there's some future. And again, 10-year anniversary is coming up. You gotta hope they've got something planned. Hopefully, it's not just a fun decal you can spend credits on in the store. But you gotta wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Again, like you said, the 10th anniversary is coming up soon, which I completely went over my head because I haven't been playing since 2015, but I've been playing since early 2016. Um, so I've almost been playing for those 10 years, which is crazy to think about for me. Reaching Unk status out here, bro. But we'll see what they do. I mean, they've honestly been cooking with the updates recently. And we had the boost meter update. That was a really good update. Um, let's see what did they do? What was the following update? They had that player profile update and stuff like that. The replays that would automatically save.
Yeah,
You'd have
like
like
I
20
think that's a really
replays.
big deal. I don't think people realize that that's kind of a really big deal, that you can go back and save replays retroactively. Like
Yeah.
that took a little bit of work to do.
100%.
Maybe not a ton, but more work than like the boost meter or the team demo noises.
Yeah.
That was some real work. And they really have been throwing in a lot of refinements like that. That some, like I said, you can't just bring in somebody who doesn't know the game and doesn't know the community, doesn't understand it, um, and have them make changes that only provide benefits. They
Yeah.
even Rocket League themselves, Psyonix, way back have tried things when they changed hitboxes and other things. And players that play the game a lot, like they notice subtle differences. Subtle differences make a big deal. You've got people like Rocket Science, they're running task tests on every new map to make sure they're consistent and exactly the same, and they're finding defects and all sorts of things. The players are dedicated, and all of that feedback and all of that work that people put into it directly gets like noticed and addressed. It may feel like they annoy us, ignore us a lot of times, but I really don't think that's true. And again, I think they definitely still have some of the original people working on the game. They have people that do understand what would actually be a beneficial new feature. They just don't have a lot of resources, obviously,
Of course.
or whatever they're working on is taking a lot of resources and they're not talking about it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But those are things that, nobody asked for, blah blah blah. They don't really do that much, but like that just shows that there are people on the inside that can't talk because they would get in trouble. It's not their place. They're not the PR guy.
Of course. Yeah.
But they understand it. They are working on it. They're getting features passed. Like developers don't decide what features go into games. They might have input, but they don't decide. It's a lot of people, and it shows that there's still people inside that kind of know really what would be actually a good feature to add, even if it seems simple or inconsequential. But they know, and they're doing it. And I think a lot of times when Rocket League would make updates, everyone makes fun of it. Oh, the game crashes, it's buggy, it's broken, QA sucks, blah blah blah. But I think like what we've been getting has been a good sign of like, hey, we're not gone, it's not dead. There's still some of us here. They just they've got stuff going on. Who knows what it is? But that's why I'm still hopeful.
Well, further emphasizing that, we just had this massive update recently, the online free to play, which is crazy to think
Yeah,
about. That's, I mean,
that too.
it's not a, not necessarily a, actually no, it kind of is a massive update. Thinking about it,
It's a big
um,
deal. I mean, definitely,
it's
it's not a
something.
flashy one. It's not a
It's
flashy one. It's not a life-changing player experience one, but it is new, right? That's another thing, like with the replay history and all of that. You can definitely that definitely took some work. That's
yeah,
that's networking. That's a lot of heavy lifting to get that to work and not be
100%.
super buggy.
Mm-hmm.
Free play was never designed for that, and they managed to make it work. And I think that's an impressive feat as well. And so again, I think they're trying to do what they can to give us what we want. I noticed that Knockout was in the extra modes playlist, in the casual modes playlist, and we haven't seen Knockout in a while. No one's really talking about that, but that was a great game mode, and it's fresh. If you're looking for something different, it's fun. There's no rank associated with it, like whatever. People kind of were like, that was there for that one season and it went away. Where did it go?
Yeah,
But it comes back every now and again, and I definitely think that the fact that they've removed both drop shot and snow day, and now it's only one at a time, has certainly brought a little more interest because now people are like, they can't take it for granted. They can't just say, oh, whatever, like, I just play these when I'm bored. They suck, like I don't care. There was somebody in the wait and chat a couple days ago saying like, oh, I really wanted to get SSL and drop shot, but I couldn't make it before the end of the season. Now I'm gonna have to wait. Like, someone has an interest in playing it, my friend Kevin, he he was playing drop shot before the end of the season, and I came back, I was out of town, and he was like, dude, I want to play, I'm itching to play drop shot, I love it. And I'm like, dude, the season just reset today, it's gone, like you can't play it online anymore. He's like, no, I'm gonna kill myself, like I can't believe it. So that was something that no one talked about before. Like
yeah,
nobody played drop shot, nobody played snow day, it was like whatever. um but it's things like looking back after we've had these changes for a little while kind of give you a little more perspective. And I think also a lot of players like us that have played for a long time, we're part of the community, we have our own expectations, and we've been doing this for such a long time, and we're not really the norm, honestly. We're kind of like we're a small subset of everybody who plays. I think Rocket League still gets like 700,000 players concurrently. There's still a lot of
yeah. I
people
know.
playing the game.
I think it's what 22. I think it's 200,000 on. No, I think it's way less on Steam. But I mean, it's not continued on Steam, so that it's completely discontinued on Steam. But I think I saw someone post a chart on it for Steam, and the numbers aren't great on Steam, but it's not a Steam oriented game anymore. But it's still pulling
No.
decent amount of numbers on Steam, which is still crazy to think about.
There's a lot of Steam players. There's a lot of players in general. A
Yeah,
lot of people still play the game, and I think those are the people that they're looking forward to. I mean, definitely the diehard fans give the good feedback and make it clear what's important at the
yeah,
high levels, and I
mm,
think that our feedback is heard. But when they're designing things for the game, they want to keep most of the players playing, and so
yeah,
we got to realize that we're not the priority a lot of the times
hmm,
when they're working on features. It's you know the kids who come home after school and they want to play with their buddies, or somebody who gets off work and they're just trying to relax. Like a lot of my friends, they're not really they love the game, but they're not really like super high level or skilled or have a ton of hours, but I see them playing it all the time and they all have a good time. And I think that's what's important. As long as people are playing the game and they're still having fun, even if they're not the long time players like us who have been hoping for certain things for such a long time that maybe our perspectives are a little bit different than the average person.
yeah.
A lot of people are playing it. A lot of people are still playing it. A lot of people are still having fun. And at the bottom line, that's perfect. That's a perfect indication that the game's not going anywhere anytime soon.
100%. And I actually want to touch on this because I just thought about this right now. If you notice, if you go back and watch episodes, at the very end, I like to ask, what my guest and what the person I'm talking to thinks about. Sorry for that notification, chat. I thought I had stuff muted. Point is, um, I usually ask, what do you think about the state of Rocket League? What's going on with Rocket League? What is different from back then and now? And it's usually negative, usually negative. Um, and we're actually seeing some positive things come from Epic Games and Psyonix now. Um, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, like I said, the Boost Meter update was it's a small quality of life update, but it's a nice one, mostly for solo queuers. Just taking a quick peek at
Even me,
yeah,
I
I mean,
notice it all the time. I use it all the time when I play with my
100%.
other friends, a little bit less experienced, or when I'm playing with Soj and I'm getting freaking backpacked. I watch him. I'm like, dude, how's he? What's he doing? He doesn't have boost. How does he play it? It's helped me learn a lot. It's a super handy feature, like frankly.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Um, so that's a great update. And then afterwards you had the profile update, and then now you have the free play update. So it's good to see that they're actually making updates to the game and trying their best to keep it fresh. It's not like before, um, where they're not really adding anything to the game. Maybe a game mode every once in a while, which is always fun, right? But um, they're actually making updates to the game and trying to improve on the game, which is really good to see. This is um what a lot of people have asking for in the community, and it looks like they're actually looking towards the game now, which is great to see. And I hope that they continue on this path, and we can see the game start to pop off again, because it really needs
Yeah.
it. It really needs it.
You know, I've got a kind of a interesting. Maybe this is a hot take. I want to get your opinion on it too. So again, I told you I was watching a Lethamir video. It's called "The Current State of Rocket League." Dot dot dot. It's about 2 weeks old. He talks about this here, and it kind of got me thinking as well. Um, Lethamir pointed out. He said, I still disagree with the kind of decision that Epic, or at this point Psyonix, made a while back to standardize car hitboxes. Um, and standardize all competitive maps, um, things like that. Because and I was like, oh, everybody hates it when the maps are different. Everybody complains when stuff isn't basically an Octane. But it's so much opportunity for innovation and new strategies and unique advantages, I guess, that you could choose. I think something that makes Rocket League maybe feel stale. People say, "Oh, the game's the same, never changes, whatever."
Yeah.
This is We've reached a point where the community has a base standard. Like I've always been saying, I want them to bring back solo Q3s. I think
Mhm.
that would be super toxic and super fun. It'd be like solo queuing CS because everyone has an opinion about how you're supposed to position. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, nobody actually knows how to position until you get to like GC2. Um, and I've only ever barely touched GC2, so I probably still don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But those are opportunities for things to kind of get spiced up, more unique. I mean, Lethering makes a point. He says, maybe G2, you ban and vote for maps like you do in Premier Counter Strike, and G2 has this one dark horse map that they have in their back pocket to pull out a clutch win when they need it. Um, they practice this, they know it better than everybody else, or you know the car you choose is more than just some troll fashion choice.
Yeah.
Like I've always hated Verdoson's car, the stupid yellow pink Finnick or whatever he uses, but um and outside of just, oh, that's an ugly car, I hate it, or oh, that's a super quick preset, like that's awesome. You can, I think it would be a lot of fun to kind of bring more opportunity to the game. People would get creative with cars that have weird, funky physics. You play the Dominus, your flicks come off way more powerful. That's an example of a car that's actually viable for certain situations. There's a reason people use it in the freestyling community. It makes sense. We
It
don't have
does.
that in ranked. We don't have that. I mean, you could try it in ranked to a certain degree because there are different hitboxes. But I think one, it would make using new cars more fun. Two, I think people would eventually come up with more creative, interesting things that way, and more unique, different maps. I'm not talking about crazy like Rocket Labs, like there's a column in the middle type of thing, but
Yeah.
subtle differences somewhere in between where we currently are and like when Neo Tokyo first came out with the leveled
Oh,
platforms
the
on the side.
underpass. The underpass note. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, something like that. Subtle differences, little things that change it a little bit. Like put something on the roof, put something on the ceiling, make it so that there's, I don't know, it's not just flat. Like I don't know, just talking out loud here, but I think that's an opportunity that Rocket League could actually go back to how it was, uh, in a way, and it could actually spice things up a little bit. And if you don't like that, you can still vote for standard maps. You can still play with the Finnick and the Octane, and you can play your games the way you want.
Yeah.
Maybe they can add a separate playlist to say, here's our standard ranked, here's our whatever ranked, where you have the extra maps. You can choose what you want to queue for. They can work that out, but then that gives players the opportunity to play in new environments with new tools, new cars. Every time a new car comes out, they go, "Oh, I want to try it. I want to see how the hitbox lines up. This might be great." Next time Leather makes a video about how this hit, or Squishy makes a video about how this new car is broken, maybe they're not lying, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I've been thinking, and I thought that was a neat idea. And at first, I was against it, but I actually am kind of coming around to that. So what do you think?
No, I mean I agree. I mean, coming from someone who has been playing the game for so long, back then when they did have when every car had its own individual hitbox, that was interesting. You I used to be a breakout main before
Love
I
the
even
breakout.
touched anything.
My first car.
Yeah, I was a breakout main. I loved the breakout, and then eventually switched to the Dominus back then when I bought it on the DLC. Um,
Yep.
I was a Dominus main for so long until I hit like mid diamond. When then I decided to switch to the Octane. I love the Dominus, and of course the Dominus has its hitbox now. It still has its hitbox, but um, I did also like messing around with some other cars. I mean, I used the breakout Type S, the Dom GT. I would use cars that they would drop and try to test them out, and I would sometimes run with them. Um, so it again the whole hitbox thing, I 100% agree. I wish they would kind of revert that and go back to something
And
more
they're
original
already
like
doing
that.
it. They are already tweaking standardized quote unquote hitboxes for new cars, right? They've started doing that where they're like, oh, well, this
Mm-hmm.
is an Octane
Yeah,
hitbox, but they've shifted it back so that it fits the model better. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
if you're going to change it, just go back to the way it was, in my
100%. I agree.
opinion.
I agree. No, I agree. 100%. I agree.
I'm getting hyped up. I'm getting angry.
But I guess I do real quick wanna you mentioned Squishy, which is kind of funny. With this update, with this free to play update, they actually gave Squishy his own title, and they have announced that they want to um kind of give a kind of give a what is it, memorabilia, what is that word, um kind of give a spotlight to some of the most memorable pros in the scene, which is good. They're kind of recognizing the RO scene and kind of giving its spotlight to that scene. They give Squishy the Squishy server title, and they said that they plan on doing that more for more pros down the line, which is good. Which is good. That's a good.
Yeah,
It's
I think so
it's
too.
it's it's something simple and something many people might think is non insignificant, but realistically, it's a way to give back, and show that they are supporting the pro scene and the esports side of things, and not just the base game itself. And that in my opinion, hats off to them. That's a great idea, because I know not every game um does that. Each some games that are focused on the esports scene, like you have Rainbow Six and CS that have stickers and stuff like
Well,
that.
Counter Strike
um
does put some references in their
yeah, I
game
mean,
to pro
again, they have
play. They'll
stickers.
put artwork on the walls in the map
Yeah,
and things like
100%.
that, or like callouts get changed based off of certain, esport events.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's cool, and especially Rocket League, right? That's just goes to show my point before, how the community does influence the game and the developers
100%.
see it too and they encourage it, right?
Yeah.
Putting that title in the game, it's cool, and it's fun that it was also a colored title, because unless you're a higher level player, you don't really get colored titles, and everyone's like, "Oh, the titles suck," unless it's like really goofy or just happens to perfectly fit your personality, titles or whatever.
Tuna no crust
Um,
is my
yeah,
go-to. Tuna no crust. Damn right. Love that
yeah,
title.
so I liked it. I liked that it was free. They let everybody, I was gonna be mad if they were like, "Oh, you can buy a purple title, but you have to pay us." Like that was gonna make me mad, but it's free. It's community figure, highlights like really the community, the players,
Mhm.
what they like about the game, and I think it would be so cool to see more of that stuff.
I
Maybe
agree.
custom decals. You could work with Lethemir. He likes to make stuff like that. Like I think it would be neat. I think like a collab car or something. Who the hell knows? It could be anything, but I think that's definitely a lot of fun.
I agree. But I think, do we have any other topics you want to talk about before we start wrapping this up? Have anything you think of?
Um, Not much. We already talked about people we went to Worlds with. It was a lot of fun to see the pros and the other notable figures. I I tried to see if Wayton was going to go. I offered him a spot with our group. We had an extra ticket for a time, and I was hoping he would come, but we couldn't get him down. But we did have a surprise guest. We got to meet Craze in person. He came all the
Oh
way from
yeah,
Puerto Rico. It was awesome,
that
and
was
he
super
was the
last second.
VIP of the group. Yeah,
Yeah.
super last second. And he was the VIP of the group. You know, he had the special badge, and he could get back into the secret rooms and see all the pros and stuff. I was so jealous of him. Um, so, anyways, that was a fun little point that I didn't manage to work in earlier in the show. So it was really fun to see Craze there. Shout out to Craze. He's a legend, actually, literal Discord legend. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to do another episode, but I think we've covered everything for now. I think we have some cool things in the works though, so definitely stay tuned for what we are going to be cooking up. Hopefully, shortly into the new year. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be really cool. So, stay tuned.
Yeah, as my co-host McViz said, we have some big projects coming up soon, and this is the announcement. If you're in the Discord, I do post announce. I do tend to post announcements when an episode is gonna drop, or thanking everyone or something like. I just thanked everyone for the Spotify Wrapped. We had a boost in engagement compared to the year before. So I appreciate everyone once again. But I did it.
Despite us not posting anything.
Yeah, besides there only being 2 episodes last year, or I mean this year, this is going to be our third one of the year, which is we're lacking, but we're hoping to bring this back soon. Next episode, for everyone who has decided to listen all the way through, next episode is going to be episode way 10. We're going to bring him on, the big man himself. We're going to bring on Wayton. He's already agreed. Multiple times he's agreed. He said he's willing to come on to the episode or onto the
Fresh weight
podcast whenever.
progress.
Yeah, whenever he has the time. So we're gonna try to coordinate that with him. And that episode we're gonna try to make a live episode. We're still in the talks of what's gonna happen with that episode. But that episode is gonna be live streamed. Whenever we get to that point, whenever we decide the date, whenever we have the time planned, I'll be announcing it in the Discord, maybe on my Twitter as well. So stay tuned for that. Again, next episode we'll have the big man himself waiting. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a great one. We're hoping to have a good time with that one. It's gonna be a good one. But if we have nothing else to be said, then I hope
Thanks for
everyone
tuning in.
that's listened to this one has a wonderful day / night. Happy holidays to everyone. It's gonna be Christmas here in a couple weeks. And Happy New Year. Thanks for listening and still supporting, even though we haven't uploaded in almost a whole year now.
Yeah. If you're staying with us this long, not only this to the end of the episode, but if you continue to listen to these episodes, you're a real one. We appreciate you. You're the ones we make it for.
Exactly. And again, thank you to everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you're at in the world.
Holidays.
And thank you for listening to the modcast and taking your time out of your day to listen to this episode and listen with us.
Hear us, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, everyone. Have a good one. We'll catch you soon in hashtag episode way 10. Get that going. Get that going in the Discord server. Get hashtag episode way 10 out there. We'll get that going so we can get waiting, excited and pumped for the next episode. All right, everyone. We'll catch you in episode 10, way 10.
See ya.